Well, good morning to St. Andrew's morning meditation on Thursday with Lorrie.
Hi, this is Lorrie, and I'm reading an excerpt from a book called Watch for the Light. It's a reading of Advent and Christmas. This one is by Madeleine L'Engle. It's called The Sky Full of Children. I walked out onto the deck of my cottage, looking at the great river of the Milky Way flowing across the sky. A sliver of moon hangs in the southwest, with the evening star gently in its curve. Evening of this day, evening of my own life. I look at the stars and wonder, how old is the universe? All kinds of estimates have been made, and as far as we can tell, not one is accurate. All we know is that once upon a time, or rather once before time, Christ called everything into being with a great breath of creativity, waters, land, green growing things, birds and beasts, and finally human creatures. The beginning. The Genesis, not in ordinary earth days. The Bible makes it quite clear that God's time is different from our time. 1,000 years for us is no more than a blink of an eye to God. But in God's good time, the universe came into being, opening up from a tiny flower of nothingness to great clouds of hydrogen gas to swirling galaxies. In God's good time came the solar systems and planets, and ultimately this planet on which I stand on this autumn evening as the earth makes its graceful dance around the sun. It takes one earth day, one earth night to make a full turn, part of the intricate pattern of the universe, and God called it good, very good. A sky full of God's children, each galaxy, each star, each living creature, every particle, an atomic, subatomic particle of creation. We are all children of the Maker. From a subatomic particle with a lifespan of a few seconds, to a galaxy with a lifespan of billions of years, to us human creatures somewhere in the middle of the size and age, we are made in God's image, male and female. We are, as Christ promised us, God's children by adoption and grace. Children of God, made in God's image, how? Genesis gives no explanation, but we do know instinctively that it is not a physical image. God's explanation is to send Jesus, the incarnate one, God enfleshed. Don't try to explain the incarnation to me. It is further from being explainable than the furthest star in the furthest galaxy. It is love. God's limitless love, enfleshing that love into the form of a human being. Jesus, the Christ, fully human and fully divine. Was there a moment known only to God when all the stars held their breath, when the galaxy paused in their dance for a fraction of a second, and the Word, who had called it all into being, went with all his love into the womb of a young girl. And the universe started to breathe again, and the ancient harmonies resumed their song, and the angels clapped their hands for joy. Power, great power than we can imagine, abandoned as the Word knew the powerlessness of the unborn child, still unformed, taking up almost no space in this great ocean of amniotic fluid, unseeing, unhearing, unknowing. Slowly growing as any human embryo grows, arms and legs, a head, eyes, mouth, nose, slowly swimming into life until the ocean in the womb is no longer large enough and it's time for birth. Christ, the second person of the Trinity, Christ, the maker of the universe, or perhaps many universes, willingly and lovingly leaving all that power and coming to this poor, sinful planet to live with us for a few years, to show us what we ought to be and could be. Christ came to us as Jesus of Nazareth, wholly human and wholly divine, to show us what it means to be made in God's image. Jesus, as Paul reminds us, was the firstborn of many brethren. I stand on the deck of my cottage, looking at the sky full of God's children, and know that I am one of them. And thank you very much for listening.
That was lovely. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you,
her
Lord.
play of words. Yes.
Yeah.
Lori, I was
Yes.
just thinking that, like when you were reading the readings for Easter, Lent, and then Easter earlier this year at the beginning of COVID lockdown, the readings really resonated with where we were in that time and space. And then I wondered about, should we be reading Advent readings so soon before the actual, Advent? We have another I think it's about like seven weeks or 8 weeks until then. And I realized, yes, we are all, because of this pandemic, in a very pensive place of waiting and anticipation, and so I think this is a great reading for today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I hope you enjoy next week as well.
I'm sure we will.
We will.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Okay.
Lori.
Bye, Lori.
Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Have a
Sandy.
great day.